It sort of gives me a tinge of sadness, just watching her and listening to that after not long losing my own papa. Moi moi rā e te ariki. Kai roto koe te kamupene nui me tō mātou kuini Māori. Aroha nui kia kōrua. Mihi aroha e te toki o te ao. Ki ona tamariki me ona mokopuna hoki. Moi moi, moi moi, moi moi rā i te ariki. It was really sad, actually, waking up to the sad news of losing Queen Elizabeth II. Remember, she was a mother, a nana, and a nana. And at the moment, my thoughts and condolences go out to her whānau, ka aroha. And I put up a post earlier, and, to me, it doesn't matter what your whakaaro was, whether it's the issue around colonisation or other take that's been floating around. At the end of the day, she reigned for 70 years. We have to respect her for that. Just in the way that she held herself, even through trials and tribulation, losing her husband. Sorry, I'm just going to turn my phone off. I don't want it to ring. And, she lost her husband last year, and that would have been really, really difficult for her. So I hope that we are really respectful for this time of mourning for her, and especially her whānau, her immediate whānau. Yes, the world is mourning for her, but there are whānau mourning for their mother, their nana, and their nana. So God save the Queen, and that tribute was for her 85th birthday at Westminster Abbey, and I was watching it and it brought a little tear to my eye. So, ka aroha, the topic today, whānau, is about oh my gosh, it's really quite unbelievable, and I think I've lost them, but I'm going to just try and find Sean Plunkett's interview on the platform in regards to this particular issue, and I accidentally deleted it off my computer, so I'm just going to try and find it. But it's calls for an investigation and an overhaul in police practices, and Māori have been yelling and screaming from the treetops, from the hilltops, about police bigotry, police bias. At the end of the day, it's police racism, but it goes further than that. This is about the breaches of human rights, the breaches of people's Bill of Rights, and I find it disgusting and I find it absolutely appalling. But I'm going to find the video that I was going to show you that I accidentally deleted. Trying to get ready for this live. So I'm just going to bring it up now. Yeah, and listen to the response. I'm going to share it as soon as it comes up. But morena Diane, morena May, morena Donna, Sharon, morena. Thank you for tuning in. So, is it coming up? No, it's not coming up. Here it goes. Thank you for tuning in. Kia ora, Kari. Here we go. It's going to take a little while. Anyway, it's sort of overcast here in the Waikato. I don't know what the weather's doing for you, wherever you are, but I hope the weather's fine. I mean, the sun was out, the birds were chirping. There's still a bite in the air, but you can sort of feel spring coming on, right? But I'm still trying to get a hold of. Sorry, Fano. I was organised, but it makes me look not organised. Maybe this is it. Yeah, this is it. Okay, I'm just going to find the right clip, and then we'll talk about it. Hang on. Oh, that's the right interview. Here we go. So I'll shush so that you can hear the interview. Now, what I'm going to do, Fano, I am going to mute it. Please let me know straight away if you can't hear, and then I'll start it from the beginning again. And I'm hoping that my settings are correct in regards to audio. But if not, I know you will tell me whether or not you can hear or not. So I've set the settings where I think it should be. If not, then I'll have to use another strategy. But hoia no, I'm going to mute now, and please let me know if you can't hear it.
On the platform, and a major story, and I think a story worthy of future or current examination, is a report out from the IPCA yesterday, the Independent Police Complaints Authority, looking into complaints about police supposedly taking pictures of young offenders in particular for no particular reason, and in fact illegally, and then keeping a database of such offenders. And this report by the IPCA found that more than 50% of the 6,000 individuals who had their photographs taken apparently illegally and without due cause by police, more than 50% of them were Māori. And we know what that suggests, don't we? A bit of racism, good old-fashioned racial profiling by police, collecting a database of pictures, not of young offenders, of young people, that they then had a database on. Now, what the IPCA has said, this is illegal and it's wrong. You've got to destroy all those photographs, and you've got to apologise to the people who complained. I actually think they should apologise to everyone whose pictures they wrongly took. Well, Mr. Costa, the police commissioner, he's taken this on the chin. He said, yep, we are very, very sorry. We do seem to have a cultural problem here, or a systemic problem here. It won't happen again. I accept the report, and we won't do it anymore. We won't go around randomly taking pictures of young people, largely based on their race, and have our own private database. We realise that, yes, this is illegal and it's naughty, and because we're the police, we shouldn't do things like that. But that has not been the response of the Police Association, which is essentially the union or the association that represents police officers. In fact, they say that they don't accept the findings of the report, and that the IPCA has no bloody idea what it's like being a frontline police officer. Well, to discuss what I think is a rather surprising response, we are joined by Chris Cahill, who is the President Chief Executive of the Police Association. Chris, welcome to the program and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Sean. Hey, can I just say firstly, have you read the report? Because your introduction is incredibly inaccurate.
Well, you correct me then. There you go, you correct me. Have police not taken the photographs of 6,000 people?
They have, but not
okay, so I'm accurate on that. Let's just work through it. I want to give you the chance to correct me.
Calm down, Sean.
No, I want to give you the chance to correct me. You've come out and called me a liar, so let's work through exactly what I said, Chris.
So we'll talk again another day.
Let's talk about exactly what I said, Chris, or you don't want to do that. No, he's hung up. Interesting. Maybe he didn't like the attitude, and the first question I asked, he says, you're inaccurate. I give him the first fact I put out, he says, yeah, that's right. So I don't know, Chris Cahill, your members are better understand. If you want to enforce the law, you better follow it. You know, because otherwise you absolutely destroy faith. So don't come out and call me a liar. And I say, okay, let's work through and see where I lied about you. You don't get to do that, Chris Cahill. Maybe you were feeling a little bit vulnerable. Because I think it is shocking and amazing that the head of a police union, after months has been spent on a report, and look, Chris, you can email me now with the factual inaccuracies that you believe exist in my intro. Or sue me. You can't take me to the Broadcasting Standards Authority. They don't have any jurisdiction. That's amazing. Chris Cahill, the head of the Police Association, comes out, his opening stanza as he calls me a liar, so I offer to work through exactly what my lie was, and he hangs up the phone. I wonder if you want to come around and take a picture of me, Chris? Or do you want to? The frontline police want to keep breaking the law by racially profiling people and taking their photographs illegally and running an illegal database.
Wow. Sorry, you caught me eating some lollies. That was pretty intense, don't you think? pretty intense. And so let's highlight the points that come out of that. So the police have been taking pictures, right, of over 6,000 people. More than 50% of those people were young Māori, not offenders, but your and my children, or mokopuna. Now, we as Māori know that this has been happening for a long, long time, nearly 200 years. In fact, we know there's been police racism, police bias, and I've experienced it several days. I experienced it. So when did we have our Tuesday night? We were at St. Peter's Cathedral, mayors and candidates for Hamilton City Council. And I was accosted, I was abused, sworn at, and my darling husband had to jump in between myself and Alvina Edwards because he thought she was going to attack me, and because she was charging for me whilst I was talking to a queer about homelessness. And so I laid a complaint with the police, and I will take a restraining order out on her if she continues to misbehave that way. I actually think she's unwell, to be honest. She didn't come there to talk about what candidates have to offer or not offer. She came there to attack me and to publicly try and humiliate myself, and all she did was humiliate her own self. So I laid a complaint, and if she does it again, I will go to the police and I will continue to lay a complaint. Now, that complaint was not upheld, but the complaint is sitting on record with the police, and I'm happy that it sits there. And if she continues to harass me, I'll get it, like I said, I'll get a restraining order out on her. Because it doesn't matter what your politics is. It doesn't matter what your politics is. I have a right to my own freedom of speech, freedom of expression. I have never held my views at all, ever. You go onto my page, you go back through all my lives, I have been open and transparent about my views. And but the police decided in their wisdom that they didn't want to waste any police resources. Now, here's the issue. Say if I was to accost the current mayor, Paula Southgate, or it was another Māori wahine, or a Māori for that matter, was to do the same and was charging at them, I think the police would have taken that seriously. Now, just before I came on, I just want to quickly show you, I'll just share with you, just so you can see the book. Now, I did a book review on this book some time ago, during the 2020 election, actually. And I just want to show you the book, just so you know what I'm talking about. It's called No Māori Allowed. And it was a book about Māori racial segregation. And it talks about the history within Pukekohe. And I was doing a book review, how a generation of Māori children perished in the fields of the gardens in Pukekohe, that by Dr. Robert E. Bartholomew. And he also wrote another book, a second book. Is it here? We Don't Serve Māori Here. And that book's targeted for schools because he's also a lecturer as well. But what was important about that book was to highlight that we did have apartheid and we did have segregation in Aotearoa, in this beautiful country of ours, during the turn of the century, 19th century, or the 20th century. So I was doing a book review and I got chased. by some Freemasons out of Pukekohe doing that book review. And there's a video, if you go back, way back 2020 sometime, there's a video that shows the book review. And I also interviewed Dr. Robert Bartholomew as well in regards to his book. And we were doing a book review, and I had my mokopuna with me, and we were literally, with myself and my cameraman, we literally chased out of Pukekohe. And he said to me, if I wasn't part of this, he said, I would have thought you were making it up. He said, who would know that people would get so offended that you did a book review on No Māori Allowed about Pukekohe, about that was where my husband was born. My husband was part of that generation back then. His whānau worked in the fields back then. So the part of the reason why I did the book review was because it was about sorry, Vanya, I'm just going to turn that off. Got a call coming through. Because it was telling the story about my husband and his tupuna back in the time. And it's a story that's never been told. And Dr. Bartholomew got all the information from historical archival records. So if you get the opportunity to read that book, please do. But what had happened is that we were standing outside the Pukekohe maternity doing the last B-roll in the last part of that interview, and someone drove past and showed me the butt of a shotgun. And so I got a hold of the most senior Māori police officer, who then put me on to the most senior Māori police officer in the Waikato, who then told me, you have a 105 website, and said I should lay my complaint. And 105 website is for non-serious complaints or incidences, right? Now, if I was a Pākehā and a Māori had driven past and shown the Pākehā woman the butt of the shotgun, the armed defender squad would have been out. I was told to lay a complaint onto a non-serious website of the police force. Nothing was done about it. So that's twice now. That's twice that the police have ignored. And Māori, when Māori are victims of crime, we are not a priority. The data says that for itself. I'm not making this up, guys. It's not a conspiracy theory, guys. When Māori are victims of crime, the police do not protect us. And those are just two examples of me being threatened as a politician. So that's just a bit of food for thought, whānau? So there has been a call. There has been a call for an overhaul. And in regards to Chris Cahill, the president, I think he's the president of the Police Association, his behaviour is appalling. If you have the police, and we know of Māori, I mean, we've been victims of police brutality. I've been the victim of police brutality when I got arrested in 2020 for protecting a queer at a protest, who was protecting her whenua. So and I still wear the scars of that brutality. And when the police refuse, and and Māori have said they're like a gang unto themselves. The problem is they have the law behind them. They can shoot to kill and ask questions later. Māori are 11 times more likely to be shot and maimed by police in Aotearoa, and not one police officer has been held accountable for that. Now, when you have the Police Association president willing to break the law, then and Māori have been saying they've been breaking the law against us for generations, but he publicly comes out and says, I just feel like our country's gone mad. We have no Bill of Rights. We have no human rights. And now we got the police breaking the law and actively saying they will break the law. And like Sean said, if the police who enforce the law are not going to follow the law, then this society will lose faith in it. Well, Māori lost faith in the police a long, long time ago. A long, long time ago. I'm not saying that all police officers are racist. I'm not saying that all police officers are bad either. But the racism is systemic. And the culture has not been dealt with. And if we don't deal with it, we're going to end up like the US. Our justice system is already mirroring what's happening in the US. We have the highest incarceration of wahine in the world. And most of their crimes, whānau, is for dishonesty, for trying to feed their families. It's about poverty. It's about being pohara. We want to deal with crime in this country. Let's deal with poverty. That's what I said at the mayoral debate. You want to deal with poverty, or you want to deal with crime in this country, in our city? Let's house the whānau. You want to deal with crime in the city? Let's deal with the issues of equity, where we're creating communities of haves and have-nots. If we don't think about those fundamental issues, we're not going to solve those problems. And you need a brave leader to come out in a public meeting to say that, like I did the other night. You want to deal with crime and poverty, then let's create a society where we're inclusive, not exclusive, and where we're creating the haves and have-not communities. And when we have a racist, absolute racist police force that have been caught out in their racism and still want to promote their racism, that guy needs to go. Chris Cahill, you need to resign, mate. I'm asking for your resignation. You cannot be the leader of New Zealand Police Force and advocating for the police to break our laws when they're there to enforce the law. That's what happens, whānau, when the erosion of our Bill of Rights. Our Bill of Rights are to protect us from the state, from a tyrannical state. All of this started, right? All of this started when the pandemic hit our shores and Labour came in with the lockdowns, the mandates, the coercion, and the harm all of that has created. Now, I've spoken to a couple of organisers who've been organising these public meetings, and they said that all around the country, people are coming to these meetings and they're targeting people like me, right? They're targeting people like me, and they are vicious. What's happened to us? You know what's happened? If the leadership of this country can bully their own, like Dr. Sharma, who came out and said, I'm being bullied, please help. Let's go through a process, and they just scoot him aside like he was an annoying flea. We are in major trouble when there's collusion of bullying at the very highest level. Now, the Police Association, Chris Cahill, the president, boo-hoos an IPCA Independent Police Conduct Authority report and says it should be ignored. And is telling the rest of the country, we are enforcers of the law. If you break the law, we're going to come down on you. I'm the victim. I've been the victim of threats, and there was no police protecting me. So when the police say we are there to protect the community, which part of the community are you protecting? Because you haven't been protecting me. I mean, I'm carrying a very, it's probably scarred over now, but, from time to time, especially in the winter time, I was assaulted by a police officer, a young Māori police officer. So browning up your police force is not going to get rid of racism. Actually, they're probably more ruthless and more brutal on their own. He laughed at me because he was speaking te reo to me, and he laughed at me. This is this police officer. And I said to him, don't laugh at me. I said, the only reason why you have the reo is because I fought for the reo for you to have the reo. My generation that missed out on the reo fought for you to get the reo, fought for koanga reo, fought for kura kaupapa, and that's why you have the reo. So don't laugh at me because you think I don't have the reo. If it wasn't for me, you still wouldn't have the reo. But anyway, that's a bit of a side issue. Hoi anō. I'm a battler from way back. And when the police say we are there to protect the community and you target Māori communities, the Arms Response Team, ARTS as they were known for, I fought hard to get rid of the Arms Response Team because in Kirikiriro and in Hamilton, they targeted the poor brown communities. They had shotguns and they were brandishing them around in front of Kuia, Kaumatua, and Tamariki and Mokopuna. Now, when you have high statistics of 11, when you are 11 times more likely to be shot and killed than your Pākehā counterparts, we have a major issue. And I've been screaming this from the hilltops since I've been involved in politics, since I've had my page. I've given you stats. We're 7 to 8 times more likely to be jailed than our Pākehā counterparts for the same crime. We are thrown in prison on remand when our Pākehā counterparts get sent home on remand. Absolutely, the justice system is racist. So let's sort out the system as well as sort out the crime issues. And to sort out crime issues, let's sort out the housing deprivation and the poverty deprivation if we're bloody serious. So, sorry, but this is just too important kaupapa. Here, I'll read the article. Whānau express their feelings of shame and anger. Ka aroha. Towards police after their rangatahi were racially profiled due to police officers' lack of awareness of their privacy. A new report has found their lack of awareness. They've got lawyers that are police officers. They've got lawyers that have gone into the police department. They are not lacking awareness. They knew exactly what they are doing. That's just the bloody. That's a tito. That's a lie. The investigation has called for an overhaul of police privacy practices after police took photographs of young Māori without proper consent and a lawful policing purpose. The report also found thousands of photographs of members of the public had been kept on officers' mobiles for an unlawful amount of time. So they're storing it on their phones. The joint inquiry from the Office of the Privacy Commissioner and the Independent Police Conduct Authority was initiated in March 2020 after media publicity revealed police were illegally taking photos of young Māori in the Wairarapa. One mother told Radio New Zealand her 15-year-old son was told he would be taken to the station if he refused to have his photo taken. OMG. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. As if they were enforcing the law. That is abuse of power. A young 15-year-old boy will be intimidated by that cop. That is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Anyway, in relation to, the reports found a pattern of racial profiling of young Māori in the region going back to at least 2 years, sparking the independent inquiry. In relation to the 3 complaints from whānau in the Wairarapa, which were upheld, the inquiry found that police were not justified in photographing the rangatahi, as the photographs were not necessary for a lawful policing purpose. This is absolutely appalling, whānau. Whānau described to the OPC their feelings of whakamā. Whakamā is shame, embarrassment, frustration, and the anger they feel from the actions by police towards their rangatahi. It found in one incident, police had wrongly threatened to arrest a rangatahi if they did not consent to being photographed. OMG. Oh my gosh. The inquiry also found the police had not properly sought consent from the rangatahi or their parents and guardians before taking the photographs and had not adequately explained why the photographs were being taken and used for. There are different thresholds under the Privacy Act for taking photographs of youth. However, the inquiry found some officers didn't believe youth are afforded an extra rights and protection when involved in intelligence gathering or investigative purposes. So they capture the photographing of rangatahi of your tamariki, my tamariki mokopuna, as intelligence gathering. That one capture that captures all. I'm appalled. I'm disgusted. I've just seen so much over the last 2.5 years. It just breaks my heart. And now with the passing of Queen Elizabeth, it's it's the end of an era. It's the end of an era, and we need to sort this out quick, smart people. We need to sort this out quick, smart, because just at a civil rights and civil liberties level, our rights are being eroded left, right, and centre. And then there's racism, and racism is systemic, and racism is real. And I've seen, I've still got a lot of yous on my page, and I saw a number of you jump off as soon as you talk about racism, as soon as you talk about police racism and all of that. Whānau, we've got to have the discussion. You can't change something that you do not acknowledge. I mean, I've had the media ring me up all this week, right? Reporters ring me up, and they're trying to. I think the last article that came out in regards to the mayoral debate was a really good article. So thank you to Stuff for having a bit more balanced reporting, because they tend to lose face. Really, the media's lost face. The public don't believe them. The public don't trust them, and because they're balancing, they've been more of a propaganda machine for the government than they have actually to give a balanced view. And so I've had different reporters and editors ring me up and ask some pretty tricky questions, Whānau. About, do I believe that the vaccines are bioweapons? And I said, well, here's a question. Since you're a reporter, I said, go and ask the government why they changed the definition of vaccines. And the guy sounded older, and I said, because you and I, the vaccines that we were brought up on, the definition has shifted. So if the government shifted the definition of vaccines, maybe that's a question you should be asking them and not me. So I turn the questions on them. But anyway, those are the types of questions that they're asking me. And then they said, oh, you've said that there are 3,000 deaths since the rollout. And I said, well, go on to MedSafe. I said, go do your research. Don't ask me. I said, look at Dr. Guy Hatchett's report. He's a scientist. He's a statistician. Don't believe me. I said, go to the sources. I said, there is an excessive rate of mortality. I said, you should be asking the government, why are there more deaths now since the rollout of the vaccine than there has ever before? Why is there a bump of excessive deaths? And we're seeing it all the time. Like that, was he an All Black? And he ended up being a commentator. Sorry, I just forgotten his name. He died at the age of 55. People are dying between the ages, oh gosh, they're dying, but 50, 45, they're dying at that age. So, the media shouldn't target us, because it tends to backfire. We tend to get more support than we've ever had. They actually should be asking some very serious questions of this government. I mean, we were having tangihana after tangihana after tangihana after tangihana. It's not funny, whānau. It's real. It's sad. There's so much grief and mourning out there. We've got young, fit athletes dying. Why? And why is it that you have the audacity to hold people accountable that you then become the target? Because you're asking questions. By oath, I will continue to ask questions. Till my dying breath, I will ask questions. Sorry, I tend to, I haven't finished this article. Aroha mai. There was a widespread belief amongst officers that there is no difference between photographing adults or youth for intelligence gathering or investigative purposes, notwithstanding the fact that children and young people have special protections in the New Zealand criminal justice system, the inquiry said. The inquiry also found police were regularly taking duplicate sets of voluntary fingerprints from youth who were in police custody for suspected offending and retaining them for a longer period than permitted. See, whānau, our rights, our civil rights and civil liberties are being eroded. And people like me are voicing our concern. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Lib. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Crystal. You fellas are awesome. Thank you for your comments. Stephanie, Lorna, Kataraina, Pam. Thank you. I'll carry on with this article. But the inquiry found that there wasn't just a lack of awareness amongst police of their obligations, under the Privacy Act for youth photos, but also the storage of photographs of members of the public. During a broader investigation, the inquiry also found many officers appear to have little understanding of the law in relation to keeping photos of members of the public. As a result of this, thousands of photographs of members of the public were found on mobile devices of individual officers, or, if transferred to the police computer system, not destroyed after there is no legitimate need to keep them. What is being done? The inquiry found that the police policy, procedures, and training need to be significantly revised. Hello? Hello? Holy hicka. In December 2021, the Deputy Privacy Commissioner issued a compliance notice to police to stop collecting duplicate photographs and biometric prints from young people and delete unlawfully collected material. Did they? Doesn't seem like they did. Since then, police have been reporting regularly to OPC on progress with the notice. The Joint Inquiry team is heartened by the undertakings made by police to prioritise the implementation of the recommendations of both the Joint Inquiry and Compliance Notice, the inquiry said. Police are to consult quarterly with OPC on their progress. Consult quarterly? They're breaking the law. There needs to be an overhaul. Quarterly? They've only had a slap on their hands. We get thrown in jail. How can the public have faith in the police if they continue to break the law themselves? They are the enforcers of our laws. There has to be public confidence in the police, otherwise there's anarchy. If the police are not abiding by their own rules, their own laws, there is anarchy. Responding to the report, Police Commissioner Andrew Costa said it had accepted the findings. We will take some time to consider the broader findings, which have implications for police's ability to effectively investigate and prevent crime, he said in a statement. Well, they're trying to prevent crime by breaking the law. That's an oxymoron. The police are trying to prevent crime by breaking the law. Hikira. As an organisation, we are committed to ensuring New Zealanders can have trust and confidence in the way personal information is obtained and managed. Well, we don't. And especially if you're of a certain skin, you have a certain skin pigmentation and come from a certain ethnic group. Sorry, lots of phone calls. Looks like another reporter's trying to get a hold of me. Now, where am I? Public trust and confidence is so important. But Māori have never had trust and confidence in the police force, and the police think by browning it up, of them having frontline police, browning the frontline police up, that it's going to get rid of the systemic racism in between the head and the frontline police. Well, it doesn't. It's a smokescreen. of the racism. And then we have what we call kupapa, who is our own, that attack our own. And we had someone who attacked me. And I needed medical help, and I still do from time to time when it gets a bit stiff. Assaulting a queer, e kira. Anyway, so age didn't matter. The police officer, when he assaulted me, treated me like a youngster. He barged me. He put the back of my arm right up to my head, and he kneed me in the back, and my head fell on the ground. I just went. Pfft. My phone was still going. I was still doing my life. I think it was the thump of the ground that switched the phone off. I got 200,000 views. And I believe that got Māori Party, I believe that live and that arrest pushed Māori Party over the line, just saying. Not all, yeah, I mean, they say good news, bad news is if you're in the media, it's news. Anyway. However, some of the findings and recommendations present significant challenges to our staff being able to carry out their duties successfully. But the Police Association has rejected the findings, with President Chris Cahill saying they appear to be based on anecdotes and a few poor examples of practice. A few poor examples of practice. Well, how's 50%, over 50% of the 6,000? So you're looking at 3,000 plus photos of young Māori. How is that? What does he say? A few poor examples of practices. That's not a few, mate. That's a majority. You've just been caught out in your own lie. Most importantly, the report's key finding represent a serious misunderstanding of what constitute biometric data. As such, the report is fatally flawed and should be withdrawn immediately. This is Chris Cahill saying that. Further, the assertion by the IPCA that police cannot take voluntary fingerprints from youths is ridiculous, and if permitted to stand, would deny justice to hundreds, if not thousands, of victims of crime. Well, what about Māori being the victim of your crime, Chris Cahill? What about Māori being the victim of the breach of New Zealand Bill of Rights, Chris Cahill? So you are saying you will protect a certain part of the community at the expense of young, brown, Māori youth. That's what you're saying, Chris Cahill. So much for we are equal in the law, and that the law is colourblind. Māori have known that to be a myth. Actually. Okay, I'll carry on. New Zealanders are extremely concerned about the wave of crime across Aotearoa, much of it committed by youth offenders. Correspondingly, police officers find it repugnant to not act on evidence that positively identifies offenders. Well, these rangatahi that you took photos of were not offenders. They were kids just walking down the street, mate. You turned them into victims of your illegal operation as police officers or a police organisation. Anyway, whānau, that's that article. I think I'm going to tune out shortly. Thank you for all your comments. Oh, gosh, there's heaps of you commenting. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. So, what's happening with our country? We need to create employment The government, if they want to sort out crime, you got to sort out poverty, and it starts by housing people. You got to put them into warm, affordable homes. People don't have warm, affordable homes. They're going to break the law to try and feed and house themselves. That's a fact. They don't have employment. They're going to break the law to feed themselves. That's a fact. Poverty and crime coincide with each other. I'm not saying that this is just a Māori issue, but the police are profiling Māori, and it's been going for a long, long time. Like I say, if we don't identify the issue, we're not going to solve the problem. And the stats tells us that Māori are profiled, not just rangatahi, Māori per se are profiled. Walk a day in our shoes. It's not comfortable. We have to bite our tongue, ignore racism. I mean, at sports, at a sporting level, at elite levels even. You see racism is prominent in our sporting arenas around the country, from umpires to referees. And if you dare, if an organisation who has predominantly Māori or Pacifica in them dare to lay a complaint and dare to mention the word racism, it can cause quite, it can cause quite a kerfuffle actually. But it's real, whānau. So we have young umpires and young referees there that are acting out because of biases. They grow up with that bias. If we don't sort those issues out in the sporting arena when people are young, my daughter, and she may not be happy with me sharing this, has experienced some terrible racism in her role as coach with young Māori athletes, even from parents yelling racist slurs from the side of the courts. It's not okay. And when the police are doing it, and I'm not just talking about racism, I'm talking about bullying at any level. It's not okay. So I just wanted to highlight these concerns, and they've been around for a long time. And unless we address them, unless we don't put a sticking plaster on them, a sticking plaster is not gonna help. This boil needs to be lanced, and all the pus needs to come out if we're going to all have an equal chance in this world. So we're going to create a society where we can all feel that we are engaged, that we are cared about, and that we are treated as equals. And whānau, at the moment, we've still got a long way to go. So, yeah, that was the hot topic for me today. Sort of a bit of a sidestep from my local government politics. Yes, know that I've had heaps of media ring me up, getting articles, and I'm sort of watching carefully across the media sphere to see what's going to come out, to see how they're going to, whether or not they're going to smear my name again. Crikey. I mean, hey, if you're going to do a hit, do a hit for other reasons. Look at Jacinda Ardern's association. Crikey. Sorry, Whānau. Hotline. Look at Jacinda Ardern's. She's an alumni of the World Economic Forum. How about doing some research there and doing an article even? Just out of curiosity, because the public knows that she's an alumni. Come on, mainstream media, how about just looking into it and looking at the white papers that have come through it, looking at how we're the pilot for artificial intelligence moving into a social credit system. Come on, media. Look at our new bills and legislations that are coming through. Come on, media. Do your job. Don't target me. Don't shoot the messenger. Go back and look at the issues. Hey, we've just got to be vigilant. Racism is not acceptable at any level. And we do need to have these open, robust discussions. Like I said, if you're not aware of the issues, how are we supposed to resolve them? So I'm going to tune out. Kia pai tō rā. Have an awesome day. Thank you for coming on. Ka kite anō, kia ora.